Listen, The Last of Us was so great. Season 1 was so great. I can't wait for season 2. It was so great that it got me to play both of the games, even though I nearly had a literal heart attack from the amount of anxiety that I had while playing both of those games, but I got something to say. I think it's time that we as a society unpack our obsession with and love for the curmudgeonly older man slash mentor and his pubescent surrogate daughter trope. Before I get into this further, I like these kinds of stories too, okay? This isn't an indictment on the morality of these stories themselves or the people who enjoy them. This is just calling attention to patterns. I think this trope is very, very popular for a couple of reasons. The first being the age of the young girl. For a long time now, I've known in my bones that one of the reasons why this trope is so popular is because it allows for a central character who is female that doesn't come with all of the preconceived judgment and baggage that an adult female character brings into any stories as far as audience expectation. Essentially meaning that if a lead female character is a child, regardless of her abilities, you're less likely to have audiences calling her a Mary Sue, ironically enough. Think of like Logan, for example. Not a single person has ever made the argument that X-23 as a character doesn't really make sense in Logan because we never have a montage of her learning Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Krav Maga, and sure, she, was born with abilities, but we never saw her training, so it doesn't make sense that she would be that combat adept. These are regular conversations had about full-grown adult female characters like Captain Marvel, who is a highly trained military pilot, and Rey Skywalker, another adult woman who lived her entire life scavenging and surviving on her own. Another big reason for the popularity of this trope, I think, is the power dynamic. Almost always, these young girls eschew traditional femininity and want to emulate their badass father figures. They develop very tomboyish or masculine personalities and would literally rather die than do anything girly. And so even in the case of them surpassing the abilities or power level of their mentor or father figure, because they learned almost everything from this person, it was a very linear transfer of power, the power structure remains at play. There is always a debt or a deference from the young girl to the father figure. There's always this implication that they would never have survived without them. They really need them. And again, within the stories, the love and respect tends to go both ways. The relationships tend to be very, very endearing, but you can't deny that there's this subservience, this existing hierarchy that just doesn't go away. So you have multiple factors at play here that have to be taken into consideration, and then you add the fact that almost always these characters are taken exactly at the age, right around the age of exactly hitting puberty. And even though they are technically children, they are almost always conventionally attractive, or in the case of a person being cast that isn't considered conventionally attractive enough, you have adult men being angry that a character being played by a 14-year-old, for example, is not as hot as they would like. This trope can lead to some wonderful storytelling, but I think we as a society owe it to ourselves to examine why we like it so much. And furthermore, why you almost never see the reverse. There's no stories of older women in mentor roles to young girls or boys. It's worth putting some thought into.